You're listening to Popcorn and Politics. What's the real deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Asking the hard-hitting questions you want answers to. From political leaders and political hopefuls from around the world.
Welcome to another edition of Popcorn and Politics. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, along with my co-host, Derek J. Wilson. Good afternoon.
Derek J. Wilson. How y'all doing today?
Yeah. How you doing today, Derek?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful, actually. I've been out and about today, which is not normal for me on a Sunday, but I've been up and out and moving about, so it's a good Sunday. It was cold this morning, though, when I went out.
I have to do a better time scheduling because I don't leave the house till 11. I'm like, well, gotta hurry up and get back. So we're in the intermission of our shopping right now. I had to hurry up and get back, and then we're going to skedaddle right back out of here. Finish up.
I'm shopping online pretty much. Like, I have 3 things left to buy, and I'm excited to get those 3 things off my list. I'm going to the movies today, though. I'm excited.
Step it out.
Well, I'm going to see West Side Story. So Derek, you're probably too young to remember this, but West Side Story used to be like a staple. We used to love West Side Story. It used to come on like Saturdays, and I think it had like Natalie Woods in it and somebody else, but it was just like one of those stories that you just like, oh my God, I love this story. So they actually made a movie out of it in modern times. So I'm going to hang out with one of my friends. We're going to check out West Side Story, because that was when I was growing up. That's what we watched. We watched West Side Story and Godzilla on Saturday and Bruce Lee. I know I'm dating myself, but all of those.
Well, yeah, because I watched it. I think it came on the History Channel.
Oh yeah, it was a regular show on TV. Yep, it was a regular show. Saturday TV. Saturday TV was the best TV. Like, you would, when school was out on Friday, all you want to do was sit at home and watch Godzilla. Because for some reason, Godzilla and King Kong came on every Saturday. At least it seemed like.
You talking about
Saturday.
Like a TV show or a cartoon or?
No, it was a TV show. It was a TV show. Like, it was Godzilla versus King Kong and Godzilla versus this one every Saturday. And then Bruce Lee. We used to watch Bruce Lee every Saturday. And then we watched Spider-Man. So I grew up on all of those.
Spider-Man was ours. We had X-Men when I was, X-Men came on in the 90s. And I grew up watching like Knight Rider, Michael Knight, and Baywatch.
Yeah.
You probably was a Hasselhoff fan. Baywatch. Oh yeah.
I watched Knight Rider, and I love MacGyver.
Yeah, growing up, I was raised by my grandmother most of the time, so I grew up watching Murder, She Wrote, Matlock, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, Xena, a Warrior Princess.
Oh yeah. What's crazy is I love Matlock to this day. I love Murder, She Wrote. I will watch those on the Hallmark channel and what is that? Hallmark and I think Peachtree TV. I love Perry Mason. Now let me tell you what I didn't like. I don't even know if you've heard of this. Ironside. I didn't like Ironside.
Nah, I never heard of that one. It was another guy where he had a drawing of his face and he'll walk into it.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, my grandma used to watch that too.
That was real old. That was before my time. So that was real old.
Oh, okay.
Real old.
Yeah. And I used to watch the Twilight Zone in black and white. I like the black and white. It had to be in black and white. Oh man, I used to watch all that and get caught up in it. And as we got into the 90s, I was watching The Outer Limits. You remember that show? It used to come on Outer Limits and X-Files. See, I liked all that.
Love X-Files. Mystery stuff. I have seen every episode of X-Files, including the movies. Every one of them.
Oh, wow. I love me some Mulder.
Yeah, and Scully. Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, so that was my
I like alien movies all together, though. Like, my husband, it's so funny because I was talking to somebody one time because I was on a binge. Like, I love X-Files. I've seen every episode in all the movies. And I said, my husband probably gets sick of me. I said, if you probably asked him what I watch, he said anything with fat people, aliens, and Jesus, because that's all I would watch. Like, those are I would watch 600-Pound Life. I would watch anything alien and anything about the Bible. So I was on a binge like that for a minute. Now I watch a whole lot of History Channel. So I watch a lot of.
So you watch the whole. You watch the 10 Commandments every time they came on every year.
And now they got a whole bunch of new stuff. Like, they got a whole lot of new stuff that's it's intriguing. I love history. So when I look at, well, let me see, I love ancient history. So when I look at ancient history, that's all a part of the pyramids, how they got here, because
Yeah,
nobody has figured that out yet. They can say what they want to say. Nobody lifted those 10,000-pound boulders up to the top of the pyramid. So they're never gonna get me to believe that.
to
So
believe that.
somebody, they had some help. They levitated them
I
some
like
kind of way.
watching those as well. I watched a documentary on Amazon as recently as this guy was trying to track his DNA because he believed that he was the grandson or the grandson of Hitler. So yeah, it was. I watch things like that. I watch World War I and II, but I'm more fascinated and intrigued by World War II because of the innovation and then the strategic, you know, moves that both sides were doing. Obviously, the Allies won, but I just love the strategic maneuvering that was, and how the U.S. was you know how you got that friend be like, well, I ain't in it, it ain't my business, but they always got an opinion. And I like how the US was not in it until they was in it. But when they
Mm-hmm.
got in it, it was over.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I
Mm-hmm.
just I just love all that, and learning more about the part of the World War II that they don't talk about, like all the fighting in the Pacific. You didn't hear about that. Like
Right.
Japan was a serious beast when it came down to the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and it's fascinating. I don't want to, you know what's the word, you gloss it over as if it was something exciting, but it's an interesting read.
Yeah.
History, I love it as well. So
Yeah, me
that's why
too.
we're talking about politics.
And speaking of war, we're right into our segment. Speaking of war,
Right.
y'all saw how we let that in there. Now we didn't plan this; it just happened. So
But
speaking
yeah.
of war, so I was looking at the AJC. So for those of you who don't know, that's the Atlanta Journal Constitution. That's the AJC. That's the newspaper out of Atlanta. And they were talking about between Kemp and Purdue, look like they're gonna have a Republican civil war going on, and I believe that because right now, they're gearing up for the election, and Trump has put his backing behind Purdue, and
Right.
because he's mad at Kemp because Kemp didn't say that he lost because it was stolen, which he did not. Now Purdue is filing a lawsuit saying I need to have the ballots recounted. Like, oh my God, really? I, for me,
Yeah.
for me, Derek, I just feel like that make them look stupid. I don't know. That's just my thought. Like, if they have counted the ballots and counted them and there was nothing found, what are you expecting to find?
Uh, well, for those of y'all who don't know who Purdue is the former senator, U.S. senator in the state of Georgia, who lost as long as with Trump. So since they lost, they feel like it was the ballot stuffing and whatnot. But I find it interesting that how, okay, so Trump lost, Purdue lost, and Loeffler lost. Those are the three big Republicans that lost in the state of Georgia. But the House of Representatives, they still held on to their majority. The Georgia State Senate still held on to their majority. You had a couple of statewide races, like the Public Service Commission. They still held on to their majority. You had a couple of local Republicans that still held on to their seats. So I find it interesting that if the Democrats were going to stuff the ballots, why we didn't stuff them all the way through?
Right.
You know, and but that was the trend across the country, where the Republican Party didn't do as bad as Trump did. As a whole. The Republican Party, yes, they lost some seats, but think about it. Uh, they had a majority in the Senate. It became a 50-50 split, so they didn't do too bad. They lost, I don't even think they lost a seat. Maybe they lost a seat or two in order to get to the 50-50. But the House of Representatives, they didn't lose any of their seats, the Republicans. And so I just find it interesting that, and then the state legislators across the country that was already in Republican grips stayed in Republican grips. Virginia, not Virginia, it was another state, Kentucky, I believe. Kentucky switched to Democrat. That was one of the major wins for Democrats as Kentucky became they have a governor now, and I believe the House and the Senate is now all being ran by Democrats. But for the most part, it wasn't like, ooh, we just kicked butt. You know, the Republicans still held on to a lot of their strongholds. So that argument that the election was rigged is just is asinine, if we can say that. Oops. And is but it is setting up for a third party or a split of the Republican Party, because we all remember the Tea Party, how everybody, the Tea Party was shaking things up, and how the Republican Party just didn't know how to handle the Tea Party Republicans. Well, I believe the Trumpsters are 10 times greater than the Tea Party Republicans, and it's basically coming down between whether you're a Trump supporter or you're not. And if you're not a Trump supporter, there's a large following of non-Trump supporters that will primary against you, and that will, you know, it's just amazing. Gone are the days of the Bob Doles and the John McCains, and I guess now in this day and age you got George W. Bush. Who would have thought? Who would
Yeah,
have thought?
yeah. I think though, between the two running for the governor here, there's gonna be a lot of fighting. So Kemp lawyers are saying, that well, let me say this: Purdue lawyers are saying they want the ballots counted because it got stolen. They want to make sure. Kemp is saying, well, you didn't want the ballots counted for a whole year. Now you do.
Yeah,
It's
now you
crazy.
do.
Now you do.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a whole year. Now you're concerned, and so that's going to be a fight. So they clap back on that. Something else that they're going to be fighting about, and this is going to be interesting to see. So they want to annex Buckhead off and make it its own city. Of course, Purdue is saying yes, yes, yes. Kemp hasn't said he agrees, but he hasn't said he has not agreed either. And so Purdue is saying he's going to agree because he doesn't want his supporters to not vote for him if he does not vote to annex off Buckhead. And I'm thinking, man, it's crazy. Like, this is going to be a fight.
And then those are all code words for racism. Buckhead is annexing off because Atlanta is too black. Let's just be honest. Let's be real about it. Because crime in Buckhead is not picking up because you're part of a black Atlanta. Because guess what? Now that you a city of Buckhead, all of a sudden you're gonna put up a gate and a fence and a wall to stop black people from coming, or stop criminals or whatever to coming into Buckhead. Like, I feel like if Buckhead was the annex to be by themselves, Buckhead could possibly have one of the largest crime rates in Georgia, because people go inundate that area just to prove a point. It's a citywide issue that need to be addressed, and I believe that the new administration coming in will address that issue, because it's not. I mean, yes, crime is an issue, but also the income, the economy, the opportunities per se is the real issue. I'm not trying to say there is a lack of opportunities, but we have to educate and provide more awareness of what's out there. So, but that's going to be interesting. And as far as the governorship, I tell people, everything happens for a reason. And I am so glad that Stacey Abrams was not president in 2020. I mean, was not governor in 2020. Because if Trump is going after Kemp, his own Republican Party mate, if he's going after Rackensburg, his own Republican Party mate, imagine how brutal he would be if it was a Democrat one, a woman two, and a black woman at that three.
Right.
It would have been a disaster. So
he would have been relentless.
Yeah.
He would have been relentless in his charge. But here's the funny thing. He's on record as saying, hey, Stacey, run. Like, he's on record as saying that. He was in Perry a few months ago. So he's on, even though he has endorsed, Purdue, he's on record saying that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that showed up in some of her campaign videos, because he is on record saying it.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, he was Trump is anybody but Kemp. And Trump is one of the people that once you upset me, or I feel like you done me wrong, I won't stop until I feel like I vindicated that wrong that you put on me. And so, long story short, he's one of the ones that hold a grudge and don't know how to let it go. Um, Now that could be detrimental, but we'll see if Kemp pull out of the primary, and then it's interesting to see how. I mean, I don't think any one of them can beat Stacey. Let's be honest. But if he pull out the primary, that does show that the Republican population here in the state of Georgia support him. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of blues just vote for him just so it can be a rematch.
Yeah. I don't think he's gonna pull out though. I think he's gonna see it through to the end because just like Trump and his ego and Purdue and his ego, I'm sure he has a big ego too. Got a big ego, that's Fat Joe.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah, I'm just quoting Fat Joe right now. But I don't see him. I don't
That's
foresee
Beyonce.
him pulling
Where
out.
you get Fat Joe from?
No, you got a big ego. That's Fat Joe. Look it
That's
up now.
That's Beyonce's song.
It ain't the quote, the part I'm quoting right now is Fat Joe.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
I know you're gonna look it up. So listen, I just challenge Derek. I know you're gonna go look it up. It's a song. It's a song, and Fat Joe is. And I want to say it might be Chris Brown or somebody, but yeah, when I say these things, I don't know.
So you gonna negate the fact that Beyonce does have a song called "Ego Out"?
I don't know her song. I'm talking about what I'm
acknowledge
quoting.
that.
I don't know. I don't know the song by her. The song I'm quoting is from Fat Joe. I really don't know.
Yeah, we about to leave.
I ain't looking it up because I know what I'm quoting. Now you go look it up and find my version because I know you will. And then he'll come and say, "Yeah, I looked it up and okay, all right." Cool.
But yeah, that's fine. But in the political grand scheme of things, or the political world has been rocking these last couple of days, if not weeks. We finally got the infrastructure bill. Biden reissued the Trump memo, I guess, as far as on the border. Now they have to stay in Mexico again, which you know, I'm kind of I'm teeter-totting because I feel like you shouldn't have never lifted it if you didn't have a plan, a replacement plan. Kind of like how the Republicans want to repeal Obamacare, but they have no plan as far as to replacing it. And so Biden did exactly what the Republicans been trying to do all these years to remove a plan because it's old political. Oh yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. But then now you see the effects of it. You remove something without a plan. Then you get people just bombarding the border. So I guess it was a good idea, but now you're looking like you don't have a plan.
So when it happened when Trump was in office, everybody ran to the border. They wanted to come over. Then they got stopped at the border and they got put into detention centers.
Right.
Is that what he's saying? We're gonna stop it right here? Because I would hate to see that happen again. That was horrible. That was horrific.
Well, no, they're not putting them in right now. They're not putting them in detention centers. So after the detention centers fiasco, the Trump administration basically said that they will have to stay in Mexico to submit to go through the process of the asylum, and then once they get approved, then that's when they can get entry. Whereas the Biden and the prior to Trump administration, the the procedure was that once you get here, you claim asylum, and then they'll give you a temporary stay or whatever while you go through the process. But you already here on the soil, and so they was trying to go back to that, but they didn't realize that the fact that Trump stopped them in Mexico, it built them up. So now you say, well, that's no longer required. They start flooding the gates. And so then that's when you had the issue where now you had them 10,000 Haitians and that traveled all the way from South America uh, to because I was asking the questions like, well, how did the Haitians get from Haiti to Mexico? Like that's not Haiti to Florida maybe, but not to Mexico. And but that's been a travel that's been going on for several years now because they went from Haiti to South America, and then once they got word that the border was quote unquote now open, that's when they started migrating north, and so that was going on. We have to not forget about former Senator Bob Dole, he passed away this week.
Yeah.
98 or 96.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know,
condolences to the Dole family.
condolences. I wonder. I always wonder, is that the same Dole? Is it
I
Dole
don't
orange
know.
juice?
Probably so. It probably is Dole pineapples and Dole fruit
Yeah, yeah,
cocktails.
yeah,
It probably
yeah,
is. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Heinz. So I
yeah.
wouldn't.
That's John Kerry's wife.
That's John Kerry them. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't doubt it for a second.
And
It's so crazy.
Anaheim
It has a
Bush.
bush. Yeah,
That's
wait,
that's what's it call it?
that ain't Bush,
Uh,
is it?
no. That's John McCain's wife.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. That's her family. She's an heiress to the Bush or the Anaheim. One of them. Yeah.
I did not know. It's so crazy, Derek, because I told you I like the History Channel, and when I
Mhm.
look at the History Channel, and I saw this meme on Instagram the other day, and it had all the names like that. It had like Gucci, it had like Fendi, it had like Rolls Royce, and although all those were men, right? And
Yeah.
I looked at a lot of those documentaries, and I've seen all of them pretty much. They were men. So I did not know that Anheuser-Busch was connected to McCain. But here's the thing: those are legacies that have outlived him and will outlive his wife and probably his children.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, for the record, McCain married into that's the wife.
yeah,
I
but
don't
that's
I don't
okay.
want yeah, yeah I don't,
Listen, when you get married, it's like one. They're on one accord when they get married. So just
not when you
so
got
he
that type of money. That's called a prenup.
maybe it depends on when you got married.
Yeah.
He probably did marry and didn't have. He probably signed a prenup, but he reaped benefits nonetheless. Now,
Oh yeah.
I think so. Tell me what you think about this, because when I listen to that kind of stuff, right? And I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and when I think about Republicans, and I could be wrong because I'm still learning about the whole, parties. When I think about Republicans, I think they're the ones that in power. They're rich, right? And they're always trying to protect their assets. And so to do that, they have to make sure they run the laws, which is what they do. But when I think about other people who are not rich and who are Republican, and I think about the Democrats who are not rich and are not Republican, and I think about we all have the same opportunity as they have. And I've heard people say to people who were Republican, especially African American, who says, you know what, we got to stop leaning on, affirmative action. We got to stop leaning on subsidies. Like we have to go out there and get it ourselves. What's your thoughts on that? Because I just had this conversation with somebody the other day, and for me, there are a lot of resources out there for us to get on the same. We may not get to Anheuser-Busch per se, but we can definitely get better. And
Right.
so, what's your thoughts on that? Because I think about they fight so hard to protect what they've created and what they've have amassed, and it always seems like we're down here fighting just to hold on to the little bit that we have, when there's so many more opportunities out there for us to get things, especially now, more so than any time in history. The opportunities are there if you just take the time and put in the work. What's your thoughts about that?
One. So I mean, you do have rich Democrats. We don't want to paint the
Yes.
picture that all rich folks are Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I do find it interesting to find a poor Republican
Mm-hmm.
because I've made the comment that every time you find a black Republican, that black Republican has money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, Democrats, that's why the Democratic Party is considered the most diverse party, because we have wealthy as well as we have low income, out in the middle class. That's the bulk of the Democratic Party, the middle class. Obviously, you have a slew of each classes, whatever you want to call it, in the Republican Party. But when it comes down to the platform and the voting, the the Republican Party, in my personal opinion, is votes. I mean, their voting is very detrimental to the middle class and low income individuals. A perfect example: they always vote down any type of assistance from the government. Uh, and but if you go back and look at some of their history, they in fact are benefiting from the same things that they're voting against. Uh, Perfect example, Donald Trump, who I always use him because he's a business person, he's a businessman, he's been in business for years, and Um, there's a lot of tax benefits that, yes, the Republicans are known for big business. So he benefit from that. But even while he was so you get businesses get tax subsidies for 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 hiring individuals that are getting government assistance. So example, if an individual is on food stamps and we as business owners hire them, we can get a tax subsidy. Businesses do that all the time, and I guarantee you Republican businesses participate in that, because although I disagree that Jillian is getting food stamps or received food stamps 9 or 18 months prior to me hiring her, I still want to go apply and get this tax subsidy because it lowers my taxes. And I
Mm-hmm.
tell people, um, there's no difference between a CEO and a person dropping fries at McDonald's when it come down to paying taxes. You dropping fries at McDonald's don't want to pay your taxes or want to pay as little taxes as possible. That same thought pattern is for the CEO that want to pay as little taxes as possible. So I understand that, because as you get older and you start, you go into your career, you start making more money. That thought pattern never changed. I didn't want to, when I was making 5.15 an hour, which was minimum wage at my time. Back in your day, I think it's what, 2.13.
315.
3.15. Okay. Well, I was making 5.15 an hour, and you know I was asking questions. What's this? Who's that? What's FICA? And what is this? And so now that I'm making a little bit over, 5.15 an hour, I ask them same questions. Like, or at this point you don't ask the questions. You just be like, dang man, I done. Whew, almost a
Uncle
thousand
Sam,
dollars of taxes.
Uncle Sam hit me. Woo.
Yeah, yeah, or when you be like, dang man, my check is a little less than what I expected, you be like, ooh, look at them taxes. So, um, so about the subsidies, I've had conversation with Republicans. I actually have good friends that are Republicans. I've lost friends because we couldn't seem to, you know, well, anyway, I lost friends over the Democrat Republican conversation, because I'm going to stick to my beliefs. I have no problem with you sticking to your beliefs, but the problem came in is during the era of Trump, where truth just wasn't there. You know, if I present you a fact, don't present me otherwise. If it's a fact, it's a fact. So, but one of the biggest things I hear from a lot of Republicans, and particularly Black Republicans, is that the government is too many handouts from the government. They want smaller government and a smaller federal government and more state rights. And I have no problem with with that. Smaller government, cool. Bureaucracy is less bureaucracy is better for a business person like me, who had to go through several red tape just to get to what you're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But they never address the issue of the low income or the province. And so uh, that's when the government comes in to help. Everything that we perfect. I mean, someone told me the other day, anybody, any Republican that's on Social Security, they need to give up their check,
Mm.
because Social
Mm.
Security is a Democrat was a Democrat, was founded and started by a Democrat.
Mm.
Things like that. Any Republican that Social Security is just about everybody. That's you get a certain age, Social Security. But any Republican that's on food stamps, any Republican that's getting any type of government assistance, they need to give it up. And I promise you, they will see how much the Republican Party uh, supports the low income or the middle class. I mean, you have secretaries, Jeff Bezos, who pays $0 in taxes, while his secretary done paid, you know, three, four, well, 30, $40,000 in taxes. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's not fair. I think it needs to be a fair. If my tax bracket is 20% and I'm only making $80,000 a year, then if you're making $2-3 million a year, you need to be paying 20% as well.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's fair. Now, but although you in a higher percentage brackets. I think it's 35%, but you got so many loopholes that by the time you finish, you end up paying 5%. Well, I done paid 20% because I don't have opportunity to those same loopholes.
Right.
So, it's just things of that nature. So I feel like if the Democrat and Republican Party can sit down, and there's more in common than there isn't. And if you look at the old Democrats or the old Republicans that are passing away, although in the middle of the heat of it, we was like, oh man, they so polarizing. But if you think about it, they was more willing to come to the center than the ones that we have now. Like, Colin Powell, Bob Dole. Bob Dole was, he was John McCain. They were some Republicans that you be like, oh man. But then as you look back on their history and the things that they did, you be like, okay, they really did cross the aisle a lot. I can't think of the last time Mitch McConnell crossed the aisle unless he was going to the restroom.
Mitch McConnell's never going to cross the aisle till they take him out into the. Okay, I'll just leave it right there. He's never going to cross the aisle. I'm just going to leave it right there. He's not. And it's so crazy, Derek. I think the Republicans from the past and the Republicans in the present, it's more of a power thing for them. It's more of, I want to be a power. I want to be a bully. It's more of that. When you look at past generations, I think they were a little bit more men of integrity, than they are now. Like right now, I feel like there's no integrity. I just feel like the things they do say, the way they act is just horrible.
And but their whole thing was based on conservatism. And they're not, they only conservative now when the Democrat is in office.
Right. So now it's like, I just want to be there's some things I just won't say because I'm trying to make this a family show. So I'm going to leave that thought in my head right now. But, I feel like, and I want to see us turn a corner. I want to see us, I don't want to say go back, but I do want to see us go forward. Now, I definitely don't want to see us go back, but I do need to see, I would love to see us get to a point where we can reach a happy medium, at least have good conversations. Right now, I just feel like, oh my God, when you look at all the things that are happening, when you look at all the craziness that because I feel like the last administration ushered in all this craziness. Now, granted, it probably was sitting there all along, just waiting to be released.
Yeah, he just amplified it.
He just amplified it. He just made it okay to do these things. And then you got these people following behind him that's still co-signing like the craziness. And I say to myself, do they really know that? Do they really not think that they look crazy right now? Because they look crazy.
But you notice when it started, not when it started, when it started to be amplified, is after Obama won. It's like all of a sudden, for the record, you had a half black president. Even the half part caused so much, issues where all of a sudden now, I feel like we reverted back to the 60s, Jim Crow era. Well, I just say Jim Crow era. That was a whole 80 years of torture in the South. But it's like, and then when Trump say make America great again, exactly when was American great for all?
Right.
Because for me that felt like make America great again as he was referring back to, let's go back to the Jim Crow era where we kept them Negroes in place. Because I find it ironic that after you get your first minority president, and then the guy that follow him is a complete racist. And then now everybody, so majority of them supporting the racists. Now white people are saying it's reverse racism, and you got people, you made health a political stance. I don't ever remember in my few years on this earth where health was a political issue. I do remember we laughing at Michael Jackson for wearing a mask, and things like that. But I never remember that wearing a mask is against your civil liberties, and like things of that nature it's just becoming ridiculous. You got school boards having to up security because of threats, and it's just sad. It's a sad day.
You saw the two ladies that got arrested here in Gwinnett County, right?
I did, and it's sad.
It's
what's
crazy.
also interesting about it is, not trying to be racial, but the amount that white people are allowed to go, how far they're allowed to go before
Hmm.
there's any consequences. We can use DC as an example. When the Black Lives Matter had a protest or had a march, they had they had the National Guard, they had Capitol Police, Secret Service, and that was a peaceful, no one stormed the Capitol, but that was a peaceful rally. Trump had his thing. That's why the mayor painted the plaza right in front of the White House as a protest. But they was all up in arms behind the Black Lives Matter march. And then a few months later, you have January 6th, and the only time someone got, first of all, the police presence was lackadaisical, as my grandma used to say,
Hmm.
and then not only did they make it to the Capitol, they made it inside the Capitol. How many black folks would have made it inside the Capitol if it
Not
was
they
full
wouldn't
of
have made
black
it to the
folks?
steps.
Right.
Like, they could
One.
have got to the steps and got shot down. We know that already.
Right. And so, things of that nature. Like, as you mentioned, the Gwinnett County School Board. If that was a group of rowdy African Americans, how long you think that would have lasted?
Not
You
long.
know, and I want to say it was somewhere in Oregon where they occupied the state capitol. You
Yeah.
know,
They
white
just walked
people
up in there with their guns. That
walked
was
in
the one
there.
where they went to go kidnap the what was it, the governor or the senator or
Yeah,
somebody. And they had
yeah,
like, just walked up in there and they just
yeah.
but you're right about that. We know it's a double standard here. It always has been, and I would love for us to get to the point where it's not, but it is. I think about if we would have took Malik to high school because they saw something Malik was going to shoot up the school, Malik would have got arrested as soon as he walked through the door. But
Right.
because little Johnny walked through the door and his parents said, no, no, Johnny won't do that, he goes and kill up some people. That would not have happened. We know that already. So we have these
Yeah.
double standards as it pertains to race. I would like to see us move past it. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that except for bringing awareness like we're doing right now, educating people, um, sharing with them like you got to see the bigger picture, especially if
Right.
you are not rich, right? You have to look at that thing and say, where does my family fit in this? That's what I say
Right.
all the time. Like for me, it's like, okay, how does this help my family? I don't have time for the nonsense because it's all nonsense.
Right.
How is my family faring with this whole thing? And I think if people just started to look at that and say, okay, I can't do this because I need to make sure that Carol and Carter can go to school. So Carter's my granddaughter's name, just so y'all know. I'm not being like, Carter. That's her name.
It's the
How I want to make
Carter.
Carter. Yeah, Carter. What's your name? My name Carter Copeland. She's 2. And people like,
Yeah.
she's 2? Like, yeah, she's 2. But I want to make sure that Carol and Carter have the same educational opportunities, right? I want to make
Yeah.
sure that when they go to the classroom that neither one of them feel like they don't belong in the classroom. So,
Right.
hopefully us doing this show, hopefully us bringing on political leaders will help viewers and listeners out there understand what we need to do to really build back better than we were before and moving forward. That would be my hope.
It's only gonna happen one or two ways. Uh, the most peaceful way is uh, if white America acknowledged the double standard. They have to acknowledge it and accept that, okay, there is a, because we as minorities, we've already acknowledged it, and I guess accepted, or some or not. That's part two. Whereas, you're gonna look up, as I've read in, I have a news app that I get news. It's called, well, I don't want to, I have a news app, and the the comments on these news apps are very racial, and it's a lot of white people, and they feel like that, the white minority, they're becoming the new minority, and we have to get back what we had, and so they're gonna continue to become the minority, and they're gonna continue to feel threatened if they want to address the elephant in the room. That's why they having this big fit about CRT being taught in schools, which isn't. but they don't even want you to talk about slavery. You
Yeah,
know,
but those of you who don't know what CRT is, critical race theory.
yeah, and like they don't want you to talk about slavery. They don't want you to talk about, if you talk about a Civil War and you in the South, you got to praise Robert E. Lee and all this and that. And the Civil War was about state rights. It wasn't about slavery. Uh, Although what was the right that the states was fighting for? They was fighting for the right to continue slavery in the Union. That simple as that. There's no sugarcoating it. And
Mm-hmm.
and so, but they don't want to talk about that. And that's disturbing because that's your history. You want to say that, when we take down the statue, oh, you can't erase history. You can't erase history. So therefore, why can't we teach the history that
Mm-hmm.
that we still finding out to this day? And it's just upsetting. So until white America comes to the realization that, you know there were some things that was done. As I'm putting this as nicely as possible, there were some things that was done in the past and present day that need to be shined a light on. They need to accept their responsibility, and they need to find a way to move on in a more general and a more unified way. But until that happens, uh, or it's just going to be a complete, they're going to feel threatened because more and more minorities are going to wake up, get in powerful positions, and then they're going to force the change that they don't, that the other side don't want to see.
You know what's crazy is I would love to ask one of the people that say we got to get back. Get back what? What is it that you personally lost? Right? When you say get, and I don't even think they know what is it that you're trying to get back? Because what have you lost personally? Right? You've heard that you lost some stuff, but what have you personally lost?
Yeah,
Like, you know
they
what I'm saying? Like, to
they
me, that's
feel
an
like
education.
now they it's called reverse. Now they feel like, people getting targeted because they're white.
Who's targeting them?
Right. Exactly.
You know,
How many?
who's targeting them? I mean, because the ones that I've seen that have got shot down, and I'm talking about Kyle, what a kid, what's his name? What's his
Yeah,
name?
Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse, right? They were supporting a black person who got shot 7 times in the back. He felt
Right.
the need to go out there with his shotgun to do what? They were
Right.
just out there peacefully protesting.
But again,
So
how many of those protesters would have been able to walk around with an AK-47
not very many. Now that they look like you and I.
or AR-15? I think it was
Yeah,
AR-15.
not very many. And I think
Yeah.
what's so crazy is that people lost their lives, and people were putting this kid on a pedestal, making him a bigger monster than he already is, and saying, "Oh my God, we want to have him as an intern." Like, what was so nice about somebody
Yeah.
losing their life? Like
Crazy.
they lost their lives, and they lost
Jameer
their
Rice
lives.
had a toy gun.
Yeah, right,
A toy gun.
right. You know,
12 years old, playing outside with a toy gun, and an officer rolled up on him and shot him on sight.
yep. Shot him on
So, you know, it's it's double. I mean, a guy in Alabama, it was a mall shooting in Alabama, and the good guy with the gun was a black guy, and he got shot by the police.
right, right.
And then
They didn't think so.
come to find out he was the good guy with the gun, and he was an army vet. Not even an army vet. He was an active army enlistee that was home for break or something like that.
Sad,
And yeah, and they put it out there before they found out the facts. They put out there that the black dude was the shooter
sad.
until they found out that, oh no, he was the good guy with the gun. You
It's
know,
sad. It's sad.
and the good guy with the gun only applies to not us.
Not us. But
Not us.
hopefully, by us doing this show, by us bringing on leaders, um, activists, we can help start to change people's mindsets, to change their, some people we're never going to be able to change. They are just set in
Yeah,
their ways, they're set in their beliefs, and I don't care what we do or say. It's just the way they're going to always live, and that's okay. But if we can
yeah,
kind of get the majority to start thinking a little bit differently, we could really be living in a beautiful place. And You know, I visited some really beautiful places around this world, and I tell you, there's no place like home. I don't care where I've gone in this world, there's no place like home, and America is my home. And so, you know, I will continuously to talk and uplift and empower people and educate people as much as I can. And I know you are a freedom fighter and a community leader. And I know you, so y'all don't know, Derek is a real community leader. Like, he dragged me along. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I went willingly. But you know, we hope that the show, and as we move forward in 2022, we bring you great guests and you can ask your questions. This show is streamed live every Sunday at 1 p.m. on America One Radio, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Roku. And so if you are on either one of those platforms, if you hit comment, we'll see the comment pop up here on the show and we'll be able to answer you. But we got great guests coming down the pipe. And you know, hopefully they can shed some light on some of the questions that you may have about your community and your leaders and the things that are important to you as we talk on this show more about that.
Yes, yes. Thank you. And Argy wants to downplay, but she's a community leader as well. She's out there in the community. Uh, if you follow her social medias, you see that she got a show every night the week, uh, including Sundays. She got
Which
a
is supposed
show.
to be my rest day.
Yeah, she got a show every day, and every day she's talking about something different. Today we're talking politics. The next she might be talking about investment. You know, wise women investing, and so uh, you know, she's a great asset to the community, and we're about to take 22 by full force next year on every level that we're working on. And so, like she say, stay tuned because we have special guests in the pipe for 2022. 2022 is a midterm year, election year, and so politics is you think is on fire now. Wait till wait till after March when people are qualified for the ballot, and then here in Georgia is May for the primaries. And then actually, I would like for us to cover the primaries, as many primaries throughout the country as possible, because that's going to be some fighting. Democrats are fighting to gain more power on all levels of the country. Republicans are fighting to retain powers in some area, obtain power in other areas, and then they're fighting against each other. So I've always learned that when you have an enemy and then that enemy has an enemy in their same boot camp, just sit back and let them fight to tire themselves out, and then that's when you attack when they ain't paying attention. You knock both of them out.
Well, I know that's probably what Stacey looking at right now because everybody's eyes on Georgia again.
Yeah.
Because you got two powerhouses bumping heads like big time. And she's probably saying, yeah, y'all go ahead and fight it out.
Yeah, because Purdue is a powerhouse. Not gonna deny that. He was a state senator for a while. He was totally surprised that he lost to John Ossoff, and disappointed. Also, he's a family man. Purdue Farms, they business. They have a lot of. If you ever had a Purdue chicken, that's the same Purdue.
Is it? I thought it wasn't. Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah, that's them.
Okay, I thought somebody said it wasn't them because I said the same thing. Like, is that the same Purdue? So it is the same Purdue.
I believe that's what I mean. That's what I've read. That's his family business.
Well, listen, we like chicken, so we may not agree with Purdue and his but we do
I don't
like
buy chicken. Purdue chicken. I get mine from Great Value.
I don't know when the last time I went in the store and bought chicken. Like, honestly. Like, I'm sure I've eaten Purdue chicken, but I'm a seafood, y'all.
I never really paid attention.
Crabs. If he made crabs, I probably just fold on over. Like, yep, give me the crab. Yep, give them to me because I like crabs. But anyway, so Derek, thank you again for joining me as always. And listen, we got great people coming, so make sure you guys continue to tune in to us every Sunday, 1 p.m. live. If you have Facebook, you can check us out there. If you're on LinkedIn, you can check us out there. It's all live. If you're on YouTube, hit us up there. Follow us on Twitter. We're there. If you got a Roku, listen, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. So you can get us everywhere on all of these platforms. And that was intentional. And the goal for 2022 is to add more. So hopefully I'll be adding, this show to Samsung TV as well as Vizio and LGs as well, because right now, it's imperative that we educate people so they can make the right decisions when it's time to go to the polls. And not just for that, even in business, even as they try to figure out how to educate their kids, we need to make sure that we bring the leaders to the table that can answer those questions for them. And you're going to get that right here on Popcorn and Politics.
Yes. And we're streaming live on American One Radio. That's
American One Radio.
You know, every Sunday.
Every Sunday, 1 p.m.
Yes, we on the radio, y'all.
Yes, we're on the radio. Download the American One Radio app, because if you on the streets and you can't watch us live, you can listen to us on American One Radio. So make sure to download the app as well. All right, Derek. So listen, that's all I got. You got anything else before we say c'est la vie?
No, that's all I have for now. Happy holidays. We have one more Sunday before Christmas. That's the 19th.
One more Sunday before Christmas. But we'll probably come back after Christmas to y'all. One more before Christmas. Derek may not. Derek may be entertaining. I might drop in on y'all. Y'all know I love what I do. So I podcast on all the days. I was like, I'm not gonna podcast because Good Morning Gwinnett, I literally have anxiety when I don't do that show. And I think I couldn't do it the Wednesday. Did I do it Wednesday? I think I still did it Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I said I wasn't, but I think I did. But because I was traveling, but I think I made it there just in time so I can do the show. And I was running. So, but if Derek doesn't drop in, I'll still drop in and say, hey, and let y'all know what's happening. All right. Anyway, thank y'all for listening and joining us. We'll be back again, same time, same bat place, 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check us out. And listen, stay safe out there. Enjoy your holidays. And thank you again, Derek, for co-hosting with me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Until next time, my friends and family, listen, y'all stay safe out there. Until next time, make it a great day now. Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to Popcorn and Politics. What's the Real Deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your family and friends. To support the show, visit us on the web at www.popcornandpolitics.com. Connect with us on Facebook at Progressive Popcorn and on Instagram at Popcorn Politics Podcast.